Welcome to Mission to Inspire, where we share life experiences in our careers, personal lives, society, culture, religion, finance, family, and much more. Meet your host, Shola Ajibade, as she takes you on a ride to fuel your inspiration.
Watching this black and white TV, and I see this ad for the Australian Army, right? Advertised for the Australian Army. They wanted people to join the army. So they had this big, what they did, they were very effective. They got this Centurion tank, right? A massive tank. It's about 21 feet long, 8 feet across. Massive tank in battle, a battle tank. And it roared into life on the TV. It roared into life. The infantry came out the back of it and with a machine gun.
Right, okay.
So imagine this. I'm 17 and a half. I'm looking at this. I'm going, hang on a minute. This is exciting. Look at this. Tank in battle, roared into life. And I said, look excited. And then all the soldiers coming out. And I went, that's me. I'm joining the army. So that was Wednesday night. On a Friday night, I went to St Kilda, where the barracks were, the army barracks. And I walked in there. I finished work at 3 o'clock Friday. I went down there by 4 o'clock in the city. And I went in there and I said to the sergeant, what does it take to join the Australian Army?
Yeah.
And he said, you want to join? I said, yes, I'm interested. Tell me more. So he sat down for about half an hour and so on. And he said something interesting. He said, you're not going to make a lot of money in the army. You're not going to make money. They're not pay you well, but you'll have a future. And your dental will be taken care of, your health will be taken for, your food will be yours. The army will pay for all of that. He said, whatever money you earn and your accommodation will be by the army, so you can save a lot of money that way. I said, that sounds good. And I said, what can I join a corps I want? Like, for example, can I join infantry? Can I join engineers? Can I join the electrical corps? And he said to me, he said, I'll tell you what, he said, if there'll be 3 intakes of 200 men, 3 intakes, you'll be in one of 200. He said, when you go to Kapuka, where the recruit training takes place, which is in the bush, right, in New South Wales. And he said to me, if you go finish in the top 10, you'll be able to choose the corps you want, the infantry. So I thought, right, I'll join RAME, Royal Australian Electrical and Mechanical Engineers. Then they'll teach me about engineering. They'll tell me about electricity. Then I can be better than my dad, right? And I'll follow the tradition of engineering. So I said, okay, so I'm into it. So guess what? I applied myself. I got in. They approved it. Got all tested and everything else. Go back a couple of steps. When I went back to my dad, I said, Dad, I'm joining the army. He went, what? He said, you could get killed. I said, yeah. Shit, that's what the army's about. You get killed or you survive, huh? And he said, your mum's going to kill me if I sign off, because you can't join till you're 18. I said, Dad, look at me. I'm ambitious. I didn't come here in a magnificent country like this to work at a cigarette factory. He went, yeah, I know what you mean. He said, I'm happy with my job. I deal with a lot of goods. Look at this. He said, but working in a cigarette factory, not for you. You're too smart for that. So anyway, he said, I'll sign off. So at 17 3/4, I joined. Right, and I had to be 18, but he signed off at 17 3/4, and they accepted me. Within a week, I was on the bus with all the other recruits at Kapuka. Right, guess what? As soon as we arrived, it was like left, right. Went to the hairdresser, all my hair gone.
Oh my God!
That's the army way. I was bald. They went barber. They didn't style your hair. There was no hair. About 5 minutes, poof, no hair. I looked like a slave in a Jewish camp, in a Jewish concentration camp. I went. Well, okay. Well, my hair will go back eventually. Now imagine 600 men with all their hair shaven off. That's the army way, right? And then you got a fitted hat on, a beret, all that, and then every morning, no hot showers. There was hot showers, no hot showers, not allowed. Cold showers, -5. It was winter, -5. we're in this cold shower. We had to warm up a bit of oil, a bit of water to get a shower. 5-minute shower at 5 o'clock in the morning, up in the showers. There's 30 men naked, right? Cold water. When they were there soaping, the soap couldn't even washed off. It was just cold water. And it was freezing. We're like wet chickens, you know. And by then I was like almost 18. And I thought, geez, what have I got himself into here, you know? Anyway, but I said, no, I'll wear with it. I'll get somewhere. Anyway, cut long story short again, I found this little trick. Now, every night we had to take care of the barracks. We had to patrol the barracks from 10 to midnight, right? And then 4 hours off till 4 in the morning and 4 to 6. So 4 hours of patrolling, 4 hours of sleep. That's it, right? Or you'd go 8 to 10 and then 10 to 2 and then 2 to whatever. So in other words, it was every night for 3 months, you had to do 4 hours of duty taking care of the barracks. In other words, you had to, there was no security guard. We were the security. So they'd get 12 men. We would compete. We'd have spit polished boots, army uniform, dress, nice shirt, tie, slouch hat, Australian way, rifle spit polish, bullets in it, everything. So, and then I discovered this little trick. If you won, there was 13 men chosen to be on the patrol, but if you won best dress, you went home. You didn't have to do patrol. They'd give you the night off. Okay. That was the way they encourage you to achieve. So guess what I did? I learned to spit polish like the British Grenadier Guards. I did. I learned all the tricks of spit polishing using spit, alcohol, metal spirit, and my boots. You could shave your face in it. It was that shiny, right? I beat everybody else in those barracks about how good my boots were. In fact, the officers were paying me $5 to shine their boots because they wanted boots like me, right? Yeah. And I thought, wow, I'm getting extra money, cash in my hand. So every officer in those barracks that was in charge of us, Ronald French, you know, can you take care? They call me French, you know. Can you do my boots? $5. I said, yeah, sure. About full day's work, half a day's work, whatever, I did the boots. Right? And I say, here's your boot. Wow. And they'd gone on a parade, and the colonel would be saying, who shine your boots that way? This is incredible. Those boots are the best I've seen. Did you do that to the officer? No, sir. He said, Frenchy Simpson. They call me French because I spoke French. And so I got noticed straight away that I was that advanced. I never did a night's work on patrol because I always won best dress, always. Right? Anyway, 3 months later, passed with flying colors, we march out, right? We're about to march, and then we were going to be appointed to a corps now, right? I finished in the top 8. I was number 8 out of 600. That's how high I was. I finished number 8, which is really outstanding, right? All the others were like 9, 10, 5. They graded you to your quality of work, right? And I got number 8. So went in front of what I call a posting sergeant, right? And he was the one that was going to appoint you to your corps, right? In other words, you go to infantry, or you go to engineering or intelligence or whatever, yeah, or machine gun section, whatever. So I roll up and I go, I'm secured. I got number 8. So I went in front of the sergeant, left, right, and I'm standing that stiff like that. And he said, right. He said, I've seen your records. Outstanding. Phenomenal. Well done. He said, now, which corps do you want? And I said, Ramey, Royal School and Mechanical Engineers. I said, because my dad's an engineer, I'd like to follow in his footsteps. Yeah. Guess what he said to me? He said, the best men go to infantry. In other words, you become a fighting soldier, not an engineering soldier. Fighting. And I said, I was told by the sergeant at St Kilda, where I joined, if I finished in the top 50, I could join the corps I want. He said, you're in the army now. We do what we want with you. You're a soldier first and foremost. He said, the best men go to infantry. So I thought, okay, maybe that's fate. And it was fate. So then I said, okay, all right. So they appointed me to the 1st battalion. So there were 4 battalions in those, fantastic stuff. 4 battalions of 800 men each. That was the 1st Battalion Royal Australian Regiment, right? What a name, eh? 1st Battalion Royal. I was born in the 1st Battalion. It was a very unique battalion, and it was a regular battalion. In other words, you had to join as a regular to get there. So anyway, they got appointed there. I went there to Holsworthy in Sydney, and they trained us and they trained us and trained us. And all of a sudden, about a year later, this sergeant called Kirby, who liked me a hell of a lot, we got on well, he'd fought in Korea, right? He'd been a Korean War veteran. And he said to me, Frenchie, we're going to end up in Vietnam. We're going to be fighting in Vietnam within 2 years.
Oh my God.
I went, oh my God. No, I knew about Vietnam. I knew about it because I speak French fluently, and I'd read the book on Dien Bien Phu, which is where the French got defeated, right, by the Viet Cong and North Vietnamese. They got defeated badly up north, right? You know, there was North Vietnam, there was Laos, Cambodia, and there's a fort there called Dien Bien Phu, right? Yeah. And they had a fort like they did in Africa. The French fought like with forts, you know. That's it. So there was about 600 odd men there, and they fought inside that, and they would be shooting from the ramparts when attackers would come, right? Anyway, I said, those Viet Cong are dangerous. The North Vietnamese are dangerous. I could tell at that age, because we got regular television, I could tell the Chinese from China and the Russians wanted to make that sector communist. And that's people didn't realize that. In other words, there's Russia communist, China's communist. So they made North Vietnam communist as well. North Vietnam was instructed to take on South Vietnam and become that communist. And then they were going to then take over Laos, Cambodia, Burma, Thailand, Singapore, Indonesia, Australia. They wanted all those countries to become communist.
Right. Okay. Wow.
People didn't realize that. They thought, why are we there fighting? We had to stop them. Right? They wanted to annex all these countries into communism.
Right.
And so they would invade from North Vietnam. They'd be given Chinese weapons, Russian weapons. They'd come down the bloody Ho Chi Minh Trail and they would attack us. Right? Wow. Yeah. And so the problem we had 2 problems. We had the North Vietnamese would fight us, very capable fighters. They've been fighting for years, right? And then the Viet Cong in black pajamas, they'd be working at night. They'd be attacking us at night, or they'd wear black pajamas. That's how we knew they were Viet Cong. Anyway, so we were fighting 2 enemies: the North Vietnamese, highly trained, and the Viet Cong, highly dangerous. They were into booby traps, explosives. The booby traps are vicious. I mean, they'd put a hole in the ground. They'd put pansy sticks, bamboo like that with sharp edges. You'd fall in there. You'd get punctured.
Oh my goodness.
But luckily for us, because of the Korean War veterans who fought with us and trained us, we knew their tricks before we went to Vietnam. We knew their tricks. They said, "What's going to happen? You have to watch for this. You have to watch for that." And they showed us the booby traps they were using, right? Some of them, they'd put a grenade, right, with a clip on, and they would put elastic around it, and when you're burning the Viet Cong hut, the grenade the elastic would burn like that, and the grenade would explode in your face, right? This is how dangerous they were. They were full of tricks, right? So someone said they took a 500-pound bomb at one stage, would belong to American. They disarmed it, didn't explode, and they put it in the pathway, and it blew up one of our tanks. It blew it up and killed everybody on board, right? This is on patrol. Anyway, I ended up in Vietnam, and guess what? Again, fate. I was the only man in the battalion. We formed a new battalion called the 5th Battalion, and it became known as a Tiger Battalion, right? And I was so proud of that. It was our own new battalion. So it was 1, 2, 3, 4. They fought more things. So I was the only French-speaking soldier in a whole battalion. 800 men. I was the only one who spoke French. Okay, and so that they nicknamed me Frenchie Simpson. They give you nicknames in the army. Like, for example, if you've got red hair, they'll call you Blue.
Really?
Ginger, they'll call you Ginger. Right? They don't give you they're friends, you know. So they nickname you. They'll say if you were like 6'4" and you're on the gun, they call you Gunner. Gunner, yeah.
Right. Okay.
6'5" and 6 and carry machine, they call you Lurch. Right? Your nickname. So big.
Right. Okay.
So, they call me Princess Simpson. And I was popular because I was helping a lot of people with the cook. I was teaching them how to train. Anyway, what was interesting is that the new battalion, very interesting, the new battalion needed to be 800 men full to go. And so they hived off 200 men. They took 200 regulars like me from the battalion, and they created a new battalion. They brought in 600 national servicemen.
Right. Okay.
Now, the psychology was, I joined because I wanted to join. I was prepared to fight, right? But these national servicemen were dragged in, and a lot of them did not want to be in the army, but they were forced to. 2 years. They had to serve for 2 years. Now, because I'd been trained for a year already, I knew I'd been trained by the Korean War veteran and so on, New Guinea veterans. I knew what I was doing. I knew the machine guns, I knew the guns, I knew the tactics. I knew how to do karate, I knew how to do knife fights. You know? So these guys, raw off the street, raw, unfit like you wouldn't believe, right? Smokers, all kinds of things. And I thought, my goodness, you know, I was a thinker. I thought, we're going to end up in Vietnam with this crew, right? And have a look at them. They look like a shower what, you know, like, you know, they don't want to fight. So guess what? I got a batch of 60, put them in the barracks, and I said to them, I said, listen, guys, I'm not happy with you guys. And they said, why? I said, because you guys don't want to fight. And I'm a regular, I join, okay, that's fine. But if you don't listen to me and the other sergeants and so on to train, and the guys who are going to train you, if you don't listen, when we go to Vietnam, you'll get killed real quick. You will.
My goodness. So how long were you in the how long were you in the army for then?
I was the initial lot was 3 years. I did 3 years. Yeah. So
There for 3 years.
Yeah. My final year was Vietnam for 12 months. From May 66 to May 67. Now, some people moan when they go to Afghanistan for 3 months, right? Or Kabul or wherever they're fighting at, or Syria. We did 12 months in Vietnam. That gives you plenty of chance of being killed or booby traps, I'll tell you, right? But I survived a booby trap by 5 minutes in Saigon.
Right.
I missed it by 5 minutes. I would have been killed, right? But anyway, but there's a good thing. So I was with the 5th Battalion. Because I spoke French, guess what? The Green Berets heard about me, from the US Green Berets. The 101st Airborne knew about me. And the US Marines heard about me. And they said, listen, we want you to do 3 months with us. 3 months. So they hired me off the battalion. And I speak French and I got on the radio, I'm capable. So I started work initially with the Green Berets, a place called Benoit, 3 months there. I'm fighting alongside the US Green Berets, right?
Yes.
With the Australian Army uniform, right? And then I did the US Marines, right? In Saigon, guarding the airport. Then I did the 101st Airborne Parachute Regiment, another 3 months. So imagine the experience, right? I was 18 and a half, 19. I got that experience.
Right.
So
okay.
my mind was like tuned in big time. So I said to myself, I'm going to do my 3 years, and depending at the end, I'll either join again or I'll go into a different field, right?
Right. Okay.
By the time you finish Vietnam after 1 year, you're sick of the fighting. You're sick of the fighting. You're sick of the killing. You're sick of your mates dying and booby trap losing their face.
Of course. So you left the army after the war.
After 2 years. Yeah, I left the army there, but I did help to train the reserves, as it were. Yeah. Then I went back in. I went back in later for 10 years, and I qualified as an army officer. So I was given the award of Queen's Commission Army from the Queen. So I became a lieutenant. As a lieutenant, I was in charge of 33 men. So I went from private, right?
Yeah.
to in being in charge of 33 men, actually in charge of fighting. So, but after 10 years, I thought, yep, that's enough for me. And that was like part-time, full-time, you know. So what I did smartly, I thought engineering, that means I'm going to have to go to school for 4 or 5 years and so on. So guess what I did? I walked in two banks in the city of Melbourne. And I walked and I went to those two banks and I said, listen, this is who I am. That's my background. I fought with the Green Berets, I said, I'd like to join the bank, right? And I'd like for you to teach me how to work in the bank. And the first bank was the ANZ Bank, and he was really very ordinary guy. He was very ordinary.
Was that still in Australia?
Yeah, it was Australia. And he didn't care about me. He didn't care that I'd fought him. He didn't care. He was like, you could see his attitude.